Many people associate getting a cold with the cold weather of winter, but spring is a peak time for rhinovirus infections, and rhinoviruses cause about half of all common colds, which easily spread from person to person. Our next guest is Sherry Torkos. She is a holistic pharmacist and author of more than a dozen books on natural health and healing, and says that the medical discoveries that came out of the Middle Ages during the bubonic plague cannot be underestimated when addressing today's toughest viruses. Let's now welcome holistic pharmacist Sherry Torkos, who stands by the saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Welcome to Urban Update, Sherry. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Point out, first of all, you're a holistic pharmacist, but you're a licensed pharmacist.
That's right.
As well. So,
yeah, I have a Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy degree from Philadelphia, and just the type of practice that I engage in is integrative. So I use natural remedies. I recommend vitamins, herbs, and supplements, and sometimes, you know, the medications have their role too.
And just the term, what does holistic pharmacy mean?
So holistic is the type of practice, so it's holistically oriented. So I do encourage people to make dietary changes to get more sleep and manage their stress levels and use supplements where appropriate. So it's the type of focus that I have.
Okay, in what ways, let's just get into this now, what ways has the Middle Ages medicine influenced 21st century medicine?
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Possibly be.
I know, because you think of the Middle Ages as a very primitive time, and some of the methods of treatments were a little out there in terms of bloodletting and leeching and things like that, but there were some discoveries that were made in the Middle Ages with respect to using natural elements like silver and mint and other plants as healing modalities. They didn't know why they worked back then because they weren't able to study them like we can today, but they worked effectively to help fight infections, to treat wounds, and now we have thousands of studies that are actually backing some of these middle-aged medicines.
Why are these medicines, these remedies, so underused today if they were so effective back then?
Well, I think once we hit the pharmaceutical revolution in the early 1900s and we had the discovery of penicillin and opium and codeine and all of these medications, and then later on aspirin and ibuprofen, once the drugs and the drug companies started getting involved, I think, unfortunately, we abandoned some of the wisdom that was used very effectively to treat and prevent a lot of illnesses. Today we are seeing it come full circle, though, and I would say my time practicing as a pharmacist over the last 25 years that I've been practicing, I have noticed that a lot of people are interested in going back and using natural remedies because maybe they're concerned about side effects with prescription drugs or the costs or some of the other issues that can occur.
Now, you've got some items here. Can you sort of tell us about some examples of what you're using? Yeah,
so I brought 3 remedies that were popular in the Middle Ages, still used today: silver, mint, and turmeric. So silver, most of us have heard that saying, you know, born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and we always think of that as, you know, a sign of wealth and privilege. But those that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth or used silver utensils, drinking cups, were healthier in the Middle Ages, and that was because silver is a natural antifungal, antibacterial, and antiviral. It actually has properties that help to fight infections. And again, they didn't know why back then, but they drank out of the silver cups. During the bubonic plague, the wealthier people that were dining on silver had less illness, less severe illness. They fared better during some of those times where horrible diseases were happening. So fast forward over 1,000 years later, and we now know that silver, and it's actually been very well studied, thousands of studies showing that it does indeed have very beneficial properties. So colloidal silver is what you'll see now, like, for example, if you go into a health food store, the Sovereign Silver, this is really the leader in technology for silver in supplemental form, because they've been able to find very tiny particle size to make it more bioactive. And so you can use this for immune support. They also have the Sovereign Silver First Aid Gel, which is great for fighting infections and also healing, promoting burn healing.
And you've got a couple of items here. Is this mint?
Yep, peppermint, exactly. And peppermint has been used as well for thousands of years for digestive issues. And when you go to a restaurant and you have a heavier meal or a big dinner, often they will offer you peppermints after dinner or some mint tea. It's a great digestive aid. It helps to soothe intestinal spasms and calm digestive distress.
And finally, we have turmeric.
Yeah, turmeric is great for helping control inflammation, and it's used popularly in a lot of recipes for curries, soups, and stews. I made a turmeric latte, which the turmeric contains a compound called curcumin, which again helps reduce inflammation, good for people that have joint issues, arthritic type conditions, or muscle strains and pains.
Now, I understand that there were 3 liquid remedies used in the Middle Ages for viruses, bacteria, pains, and wounds.
Yep, so the first one is the silver.
Okay.
So the first remedy that was used that really revolutionized our ability to fight infection, like we're talking at a time where we didn't know about penicillin and all of these other drugs. This was nature's antibiotic. And how silver works is it helps to prevent viral replication. It actually can destroy bacterial particles and fight fungal infections as well. And when you look at how NASA, for example, they use silver still today to purify water on the space station. If you have a serious burn, you go to the burn center, they put silver nitrate cream to help promote healing, or sulfur sulfadiazine. So you can find, like, this is a topical silver first aid gel, great for minor burns. So if you have burned yourself on something hot on the oven, you can put a little bit of that. It prevents the scarring, and it also helps to prevent the infection, which is really key.
Now, could you talk to our viewers a little bit about who Hippocrates was and what makes him so significant in the Middle Ages medicine and modern medicine?
So Hippocrates was born in the year 460 B.C. before Christ. So we're going back a long, long time, but he's somebody that we still talk about today because he's known as the father of medicine. He made some really important discoveries, and he was one to really look at disease and illness and say that it had both a physical and a rational underlying influence. So he looked at the body as a whole. He made some important discoveries when it came to using natural medicines, and he also developed what we have been known as the Hippocratic Oath,
yes,
which a lot of doctors still ascribe to with respect to ethical concerns with practicing and treating people.
Now, we talked about mint a little bit, but I understand you talked about it being effective on stomach aches. Can you use peppermint candy, or is tea more effective?
The tea would probably be a better choice, or peppermint oil capsules. The problem with the candy is a lot of them don't have enough of the actual mint, which contains the menthol that is the soothing agent for upset stomach. So when it comes to peppermint, I would go for the mint tea or a mint capsule.
Famous saying that everybody knows, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. What is your take on that saying?
I believe in that wholeheartedly, and as a pharmacist, I'm actually one to say that drugs have their place. Let's use them when we absolutely have to, but let's look at how we can prevent illnesses. And when we're talking in the beginning of the segment about rhinoviruses and spring colds that are going around, there's a lot we can do to support and prevent these infections by washing our hands, making sure we get enough sleep at night. For immune system support, again, I go back to silver because the bioactive silver hydrosol is very good at fighting viral infections, bacterial infections, and it doesn't cause antibiotic resistance that we see with some of the other things that are out there used to treat infections.
Talk to me about how you work with your patients and your customers. Do they come to you saying that, I'm allergic to this medicine or penicillin or whatever? Can you find something else for me, or what? Sometimes
we have a case where a patient will come in and they'll say, I can't tolerate this cholesterol medication because it's causing leg cramps, or it's causing liver distress, and I might go out and look for an alternative recommendation. Okay. So it's really individual.
And finally, very quickly, where can people get more information on what you discussed today, and what is your message to everyone about holistic holistic pharmacy?
So for those that want to read more about what I do and also on this topic of ancient remedies, check out my blog page, which is sherrytorkos.com, SherryTorkos.com. You can check that out. And, you know, I go back to that saying that you mentioned, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and it's something I do believe in.
Okay, we'll leave it right there.
Thanks.
Sherry Torkos, a holistic pharmacist. Thank you for coming in and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, that's it for this edition of Urban Update. I'm Byron Barnett. For all of us here at Urban Update, have a great Sunday, and see you all at the Walk for Hunger, which is rolling along.